Okay, I'm live. Now, I don't know how to add anybody in on here. Let's have a look on this. Oh, yeah. Let me just sort this out. Dan. There we go. Okay. Dan. Are you there, Dan? Add in. Ha ha ha. We're getting this now.
Croz.
All right. Not ideal, but I'm on.
Yeah.
It wouldn't allow me to go landscape, but
Cool.
I don't mind going along like this if this suits you.
Yeah. Am I the right way?
At least we're communicating.
Yeah, that's a step further than we were before. So that's something. So, am I the right way? I'm the wrong way up on your screen. Do I need to turn it this way?
No, you're right now.
That's
right
better.
Way up. Hang on, this is getting a bit good now, isn't it? Both the right way up and talking to each other.
Wow, that's just showing off.
Okay, as they do in the things we'll get the clapperboard out.
Yeah.
And start again.
Take two.
Right, go for it.
So before it breaks again,
yeah.
Let's see how we get on. Yeah, is this in private groups or is this in? I can't even remember where it is.
This is in Crossley, I think.
Ah, cool. So I will try and share it as well if I can work out what I'm doing, which is probably unlikely. While I try and work that out, Croz, why don't you tell us about your business?
Right. Okay. I've been around in the personal development industry for about 25 years now. And a quick précis of what happened to me is I went absolutely skint when I was 43 years old. And I got myself into all sorts of trouble by making all the wrong decisions, by trying to get back in 5 minutes what had taken me the previous 25 years to get hold of. And I was gone for all money. I was in a terrible state. And then I found a book called The Science of Getting Rich. And one passage in that book, one statement in that book was that if you follow the information in this book to the letter, you will get rich. And rich is your own meaning of rich, whatever that is to you. I mean, it's different things to different people. But I followed it. And my main intention was to try and prove it all wrong, to be honest with you. And by trying to prove it wrong, you've got to do everything you can to say, yeah, well, that didn't work. So I did everything it told me, and lo and behold, things started changing in my life. And as they started changing, I sort of read a bit deeper until I came up with what I found was the formula that everyone else seemed to be trying to complicate these teachings, and I was trying to simplify them, which put a few feathers out of joint in the early days because people were trying to complicate them to monetize them. But the actual nuts and bolts are very, very simple. The only thing that stops this stuff working for you is the fact that your previous programming and all those nasty voices in your head keep interfering and stopping you doing things. So basically, you've been programmed by people, and a lot of them say don't do something because if you don't do anything, you can't go wrong. So that's the advice that you've had most of your life, and it carries on into adulthood. So that's it. And my mission now is to let as many people as possible know about these teachings because they're just fantastic. And the people that do take notice of the information, their life changes in every way possible.
Okay, sure. So what was the one thing or the one day maybe, which kind of really made you want to go out there and change and make things different?
Well, what happened, Dan, was I'd been in such a mess. It wasn't true. I, was very, very ill. I was making myself very, very ill. And once I got through it and working it back, it was as a direct result of following the instructions in that book. And I said, everyone needs to know about this. And then I just started on a mission. I had my first seminar with some young entrepreneurs 25 years ago. And some of those, well, I should say at least 70% of those people still keep in regular contact with me. And they're all, in their own way, wealthy, in their own way, happy. And we keep in touch, and it's just wonderful. But you see, the biggest problem is getting people to cut down the barriers, because I've got a client at the moment, and this is unbelievable, who's in a mess. And I keep saying to him, look, this is all you need to do to move forward. And then the next time we talk, I say, how are you getting on? He said, well, I'm just going to carry on doing what I was doing until I get myself out of trouble. And then I'll do what you told me to do. And I said, well, so it's just going to go on forever. So you have to make this conscious decision to change what you're going to do. And once you do, things just start happening and unfolding so quickly, it's not funny. But there is a set formula. It's as it says in the book, it's science. It's no different to 2 + 2 = 4. But if you go 2 + 1, you'll never make it equal 4. So you've got to do exactly what it says. And when you do, you get guaranteed answers, because the whole world exists on what we call cause and effect, right? That's the law. If you drop a pencil, it goes down. Now, if you drop the pencil and it went up or went sideways, it might be a bit funny for a while. But if you couldn't guarantee that pencil dropping, things would be in turmoil. And that's the same with these teachings, is that there are scientific laws that if you do that, if you focus your mind on that in a certain way, you will get results. And the thing is that every time, it's absolutely no different to algebra, mathematics, any of the sciences. It works every single time. The trouble is getting people to do what they're told. And you can show them examples, you can get testimonials from people and everything, but you still got them crazy voices in your head going, how, why, what, where, when, instead of just allowing things to happen. And the minute you try and work out what's going to happen, the minute you try and tell people, or they try and say, how's it working, and try and conduct operations, things start going wrong. And as I say, the minute that you sort of change the rules, you got 2 + 1 and try and make it equal 4, you've had it.
Yeah. So you'd say your main problem, or not your main problem, your main challenge with people is compliance and getting them to just do what they're meant to do, right?
Yeah, look, I mean, there's loads and loads of different analogies. You see, what the biggest problem people have is there's just so much information to have out there. There's millions of books, videos, DVDs, courses. And I tell people at my workshops, I say, look, I've been on virtually every one of them for you. You ain't got to go. I've looked at it, and I've taken all the information that's relevant. And when after 25 years, I've worked out that there is only a tiny little bit like that to learn, to know.
Yeah.
But applying it is a different thing, because it flies in the face of all that you hear. Like, when people are in trouble, they tend to stress and run around, racing around, trying to make things work, and they're rushing, and they make bad decisions and get nowhere. So when I go in and say, well, look, the first thing you got to do is relax, they go, what? Bloke's crazy. What do you mean relax? How can I relax? Things are all going wrong. But the minute that you relax and you start looking at things logically, properly, things change, right? So it flies in the face of everything you know. Everyone you've seen when things go wrong is in a rage. Everyone you've seen when things go wrong is running around trying to make things work. And the funny thing is, Dan, when we're stressed, we tend to do things that we know won't work if we were relaxed. But because we're stressed, we say we're going to put that extra bit of effort in, extra bit of muscle behind it, and I'll make it bloody work because I'm so desperate. And the thing is, you know, relaxing, just relax. Now that flies in the face of everything you know, and you find it until you know the rules and the laws appertaining to this information, you don't relax. You carry on saying, I'll run around like a blue-ass fly for the next however long it is, and then I'll do what you tell me to do. But the way to change it is to relax straight away. Then you see things totally differently and things start making sense. But that's just a simple example of what, you know, that things going wrong. You know, people sort of looking at it and saying it can't possibly work because it's alien to everything you know.
No, I can completely hear what you're saying there, Croz. I mean, I think all the kind of the books and the certainly with a lot of the small businesses that we'll be seeing this in the different groups, it's all about hustle and grind. Put another hour in the morning, put another hour in at night. Take work at the weekends, and just work, and work harder and harder and harder. And from what you're saying there, that's not the answer, right?
Totally opposite. I've got two young lads at the moment. You're young, I think they're about 40, young to me, but that I'm working with at the moment, right? And they've been running around and going all over the place trying to make things happen, and they're just at a standstill. I call them the wheel spin kids. Plenty of rubber on the road, loads of smoke, loads of noise, but they ain't going nowhere, right? So I just said to them, relax. I said, the first thing you got to do is you got to promise me that you spend the weekends with your family, have a party, have a barbecue or whatever. So, you know, just chill out and do it. Yeah, but we've got no. I said, look, trust me. Don't ask me for my help if you don't listen to what I'm telling you to do. If it doesn't work and you do exactly what I say, I'll stand on. But if it doesn't work and you don't do what I say, it's a bit unfair, isn't it? Right? So there's these two guys now, and I've been working with them for 2 months. Right? Yeah. They're absolutely so laid back. They've hardly got anything to do. They're almost bored. Before they didn't have time to scratch themselves. We've restructured the company. They weren't in any trouble. They just thought they were in trouble. Right? So once they relaxed and we looked at everything and we changed a few things within the company, all of a sudden, I mean, we had a chat yesterday. They're sitting there laughing and joking, and the business is flying because they're listening to what you're saying. And as I say, it flies in the face. I said to them the other day, yesterday when I was talking to them, that my final words to them, I said, go away, like, pack up now, go and have a lovely weekend, recharge, and then come back. We talk again Monday. Well, before they were working 7 days a week, right? But just when you structure it properly, because you don't see things clearly when you're rushing around. You know, once you sort of just calm things down, it all becomes clear.
Yeah, no, that makes absolute sense to me. So you said this has all come from the book that you read, going way back when, right?
Yeah. Well, the actual application, all the bits and pieces. Like, I mean, I've made up the thing of relax, and circular thought, transitional disruption. I've put names to things so it's easy to remember them. But you know, basically, that is what set me on the path. And then once I made it work for me, because I tell people just follow one teaching, right? Because I'd been following it all my life up to the time that I went skin. I'd read everything, done everything, and I couldn't make any sense of it. And then this one thing says, look, sling all the others in the bin until you've made it work, and then go and have a look at everything else. And the other stuff starts making sense. But when you actually got a bit of everything, it don't. I mean, if you got a car, someone says to you, there's all the bits of a car engine there, go and build me an engine. But they don't tell you that they got a bit from loads of different cars. You ain't going to be able to build an engine, are you? And it's hard enough to build an engine if you've got all the right bits. But at least you've got a chance of building an engine. So when you try and make this work by using a little bit from here and a little bit from there, I mean, everybody, when I talk to people, and even on one-to-ones, and they go, oh yeah, I know that bit, I know that. I said, well, why can't you make it work? It's different reading a book and saying you know the words, but until you've made it work, you can't say that you know how to make it work. And that's the trouble. Most people read a book, and especially with The Secret. I don't know if you remember The Secret, but I was
Yeah,
actually
law of
in a
attraction,
class.
right?
Well, I was in a class with Rhonda Byrne, learning about the
Okay.
science of getting rich, because the science of getting rich was the what she used as the basis for that, for The Secret, right?
Sure.
And she's so she's living proof of the thing. She's sitting there, and then all of a sudden she's had this vision of The Secret and the DVDs, biggest thing in living history. But it all come out of her mind of just relaxing and working on that course. But so many people make hard work of all this because they're dealing with all different bits of the engine instead of just following one thing. And I don't care who you follow, but if you follow one teaching in exclusion, because see, most of it's done just to monetize it.
Yeah.
All of the secret is to focus, right? Now, tapping your bleeding head, right? Tapping, people do tapping and that. That's just to focus
Sure.
you.
Yeah. Yeah.
NLP, it's to focus you. All the different names they give it, every single thing, your Brendan Burchards and your Sam Crowleys and all these people have all just got different words to get to the same place. And basically, all you've got to do is know where you're going, make where you are where you want to be, so you're nice and relaxed, so you're not trying to escape from where you are. Because most people say, "Yeah, when I get up the road, it'll be all right. When I get there, it'll be all right." It won't. If you ain't happy now, it don't matter where you end up, you'll be unhappy. So make yourself happy now, know where you're going, and get rid of all the shit from the past. That's it. In a nutshell, that's all you got to do. But it's the hardest thing you've got to do, because you've got to go through things like relaxing when you're all stressed out. You've got to do things like imagining the future and just allowing things to unfold towards it. But most people, they say, "Well, I've thought about a new car and it ain't in the drive yet." Right, the
Sure.
next morning. Well, I mean, that just ain't going to happen. You've got to use efficient action, right? Because people say action, but that's no good. Because you can have a geezer walking around the office with a file under his arm, just killing time. Now he looks like he's busy and doing something. He's taking an action, but he ain't achieving anything. So it's got to be efficient action. It's got to be efficient action towards a worthy cause. That's it.
Sure. And I know some of the delivery methods you use. I think you've got a book does that teach it as well, or is it more the
Yeah,
one-to-one stuff that you do?
I've got a book called Tell Us Another. I ain't got a copy here, but I would have. Tell Us Another, which is
We'll get a link
based,
put below after. Yeah.
yeah, Tell Us Another, and it's about my journey. It talks a little bit about my um, early life, how things have changed, the way the days that I was brought up with are alien, and that's how quick things are changing today. And there's a lot of anecdotes, there's a lot of stories in it. Get really great reviews. In fact, if you go on the Science of Getting Rich in plain English on Facebook, and you'll see there was a review went up there today about the book. So it's, I can't judge it myself because I wrote it, but it gets a lot of good feedback because there's a lot of good information in there, and it all comes from the fact of, when people come into me and they say, "Oh, well, it's all right for you," I go, "Oh, what's your problem?" "Yeah, okay." And then I go into Croz's archives and I come up with something that's going to give me empathy with them, right? Now, losing a
Sure.
multi-million-dollar company overnight to someone you love is quite a big one to swallow. So that normally trumps
Yeah.
one or two. There's people that
Yeah.
got quid on the horses or something. No, so I can always find something. If they want to have a challenge about who's had it hardest, I can normally find something to do. But it ain't about that. All it's about is saying, I know how people feel because I've been there. I've been there not knowing, like from being head of a multi-million-dollar company to worrying about how it's going to get a bit of grub on the table at one point, right? I mean, the funniest thing ever, Dan, was that when I went skin, I thought I was skin, so I sold everything up, and I had $250,000. I'm skin. Everyone else thinks I'm rich, But because of where I'm coming from, you see, the perception was now, how am I going to live? How am I going to? So I rushed around and created a new business. Now, I'd made a promise to myself in a previous life to never, ever get involved again in the hospitality industry. So in my stress state, what did I do? Opened a dessert restaurant. So I'd gone against me, like I shook hands with that on my wife. I said, we'd never do that ever because that's wrong. But because I'm stressed, I'm going to make it work. It's going to be the way to get back. So I worked, spent 250 grand doing it up, done it up really lovely. Didn't have the old stick-on things. I had them properly etched. Lovely, going to do it right. Makes a lot of difference. I could not grand out quick enough. I thought, here we go. Worked for 2 years, 80 hours a week. And at the end of it, put the key in the door. Right? Walked away. Now, if I'd have been relaxed and rung a friend or someone like that, and they said, Croz, just have a little break until your head's right, I could have sat down and done nothing for 2 years, paid myself 25 grand a year, and after 2 years still had 200 grand. Instead of that, I worked 80 hours a week with me and my wife to go skiing. So I know, you know, the advice, and it sounds totally the wrong thing to do. I mean, when you're trying to get your money back, the last thing you want to hear is sit down by the pool and have a rest, isn't it? You feel you've got to be doing something. That's the logic. That's what your head's telling you to do. But it's not. And I just wish that I'd have thought to ring someone who was devoid from the, you know, divorced from the actual proceedings to tell me. But you see, the thing is, that brings us on to a little thing called sunk investment. Do you know what sunk investment is?
So if you put money in, if you put all your money in today, or half your money in today, that just because you put that in doesn't mean it's a good investment.
Right. Okay. Sunk investment in a business. Right. Now, I'd invested 80 hours a week for 2 years, plus my wife, and $250,000. Okay. So when I come to decide whether it's any good or not, most people say, well, I can't get rid of it because I've invested 250 grand. Or I can't get rid of it because I've invested all that time. But the thing is, it don't make it right. Do you see what I'm saying? So when you come to make a decision about your business, forget how much money you've invested and how much time you've put into it. Just make a decision based on if it's right or wrong. Then you come to the right decision. And I put the key in the door to that business. And I wandered away, and do you know what? This is a funny thing to say. It's possibly one of the best feelings I've ever had, because I'd made a decision. I'd moved away, didn't know what I was going to do, didn't have a bloody clue what I was going to do, but I felt terrific. And then, all of a sudden, things started falling into place, because now I was really going to do the thing properly. I was now going to listen and take note of what it said and apply it. And the thing is, most people do it, they read it. Everyone can quote all the things, all the different bits and pieces and the motivational quotes and all that. It don't stand for jack shit if you don't do something, right? All affirmations and things, all things wrote on walls. It's, oh yeah, that's reminded me. Yeah, I know that bit. I know that bit. You've got to do it. And that, when you do it, is the hardest thing you ever have to do, because you're flying in the face of your programming. And that's all it's about, is you've got to reset your programming.
Yeah, so as you say, it's not what you know, it's what you do consistently, right?
Precisely. And listen, people say to me, right, they come to a workshop, one of which we got in Swindon on the 12th of September, if anyone's interested, called The Science of Getting Rich at Playing. Now, that day, you will leave that workshop 2 inches above the ground, all your problems are solved. But your subconscious mind will start interfering, right? And it will start telling you why things are going to go wrong, because you walk away from there so confident things are going to go right, but then the voices will come in. Because all the time you're with Uncle Cross, I won't let the voices into your head. But as soon as you leave me, that do. Now, I've been studying this for 25 years. And I love this book so much that I chased down this book, which is a first edition. This book was called Create Financial Success Through Creative Thought. Don't know if you can see that when it first came out. And then they changed the title. Can you see it? Finance.
Yeah,
See it
it's
there?
backwards, but I can see it. Yeah.
And then that's that's the book. I loved it so much. I went and bought a first edition. You get a bit of a tingle every time I touch it, actually, because it's done so much for me in my life. And this is the original, and all the copies that you get now. There's loads in here that people have left out. They've all changed it or done their little bit. But this is the original. This talks about Carnegie. It talks about Dunlop and all the other big names of the time during the New Age era in the early 1900s, and it's just fantastic. But the thing is, he can't claim any of the information. I can't. I can only claim the way I teach it because I make it very simple. Does that make sense? I
Absolutely.
can't claim none of the. I can't claim none of the universal laws, can I? Because they've been around since time began, and there's observations that precede religion, right?
Sure.
Christianity is so young against these teachings, and yet Christianity, Islam, all the different religions of the world contain this information, but what they've done is they've wrapped it up to control people. And I give the information to people to free them, right? So there's two different agendas coming up, but it's all the same information. You can't change it because they're universal laws, cause and effect. You jump off a cliff
Yeah.
and you go upwards, mate, you're in trouble, aren't you? But what people do, Dan, is they jump off the cliff and they put wings on, like them gliders, and they fly. Now, then they say, oh, well, the law of gravity don't work. No, no, no. The law of gravity works, but you've introduced the law of flight. Do you understand what I'm saying? So this is what happens to people, is they get a bit of information and they add their little bit into it. I'll do that and I'll add that. Like, when we're building the car engine, we throw a few bits in that aren't needed, right? And expect, well, we've got a big rattle. But the thing, at the end of the day, if you do exactly, it doesn't need any embellishment. I've made it as simple as it can possibly be over 25 years. I still, to this day, I will read that book, not that particular one, because it's very, very tattered and very fragile now. I read my copy, The Science of Getting Rich in Plain English, which anyone can have for nothing, by the way. Just email me. I'll put the email bits and pieces up. You can have that for nothing. I'll give you that. The Science of Getting Rich in Plain English, mate, with a few bits and pieces. It will change your life. But don't read it and go, oh, yeah, I know that bit, or I've done that bit, or I've done this, or I've done that. Just do what it instructs you to do, and it will change your life. But the biggest thing is, I've been doing it for 25 years, and every time I read it, guess what happens?
You learn something new, or you learn something new about yourself, maybe.
You've got it right on the head there, Dan. Because of, you see, life's about steps. It's all about moving forward. What we tend to do, we want to be at the bottom and get to the top in one jump, right?
Yeah.
That ain't no good to you. Enjoy the steps. Enjoy the journey. Life's a journey. You spoil it if you, as soon as you can walk, it's all over. So just enjoy the journey, the learning process. But every time that you learn something, when you see something else, it resonates differently. And reading the same book time and time and time again is amazing, because you always, where the new place where you are presents new information. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. So I think from what you're saying is, it's not, the book's obviously the same, but it's your perspective that's changed. So you're going to see it from a different angle and be able to learn it in a different way.
Precisely. And it's like when I coach people, right? Now, if I'm coaching a director of a company, a large company, right, I give him information relevant to the step he's on. Because if I gave that information to someone who's just starting a company, a one-man band, it wouldn't make any sense, would it? So in life, and that's the other trouble as well, there's no one size fits all. It's all the same information, but you've got to know where you are and accept where you are for it to make any sense. Because otherwise, you're just starting your business, but you're reading information relevant to a big corporate company. So you just position yourself right, and it's the same information delivered differently, and it's what you make of it, right? what you make of it changes it. So if you've been through the mill a few times, like I have, when I'm talking to a director of a company who's also been through the mills a few times, I don't have to explain what it feels like to go skint or to all that. He knows. But someone who's just started out ain't got a clue what it's like to go, you know, for things to go wrong. So it's all different information, and it all makes sense at a different level.
Yeah. Okay. So is there any other? Sorry, Croz, go on.
Yeah, I said I keep giving you chances to speak because I do ramble on a little bit.
It's all gold. I don't want to. I can't even talk now. I don't want to interrupt you in the middle of your flow. So is there any other books you'd recommend, or just keep it simple, keep it to that one and to your one?
Listen, what I say to people is that if you think of it as building an engine, right, and if you go and read loads and loads and loads of different books, so the client this morning, and she rattled off everyone you could possibly think of who's ever wrote a book on self-development, but she was still lost. Now, I say study one, whichever one you choose, whichever one resonates with you, choose it, but follow it in its entirety until you get results. When you've got results, I can read anything now because it doesn't matter, right? I read anything and just find out people say different things to get to the same point. It's great. But when you do that and then you go and read someone else is doing it another way, and everyone swears their way is the best way and it's the only way, right? I've spent 25 years making this simple, right? You cannot get it any more simple than I've made it, okay? But even though I've made it that simple, it's still the hardest thing you'll ever have to do, to fight them voices. But once you do, fasten your seatbelt because it's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. But you've got to make a commitment, do it right. And I'd love to see someone go through doing it exactly right and not have a success, because then it would prove it wrong. But that won't happen. That's impossible. That is absolutely impossible. What it'll be, someone will come to me and say gravity don't work, but I say, what's them wings hanging on your back, right? So there will always be a reason. There will always be a reason why it doesn't work. And the unfortunate thing is, Dan, the culprit is always you.
Yeah.
Not you particularly, but you as in.
I know everyone's fault.
Right.
Yeah.
So
okay, so as this is going out to quite a lot of the different business groups, I've sent it out to 4N and DLBN and a couple of others as well. What would be, and I know a lot of people in those groups are either very small companies or one-man bands or just starting out. When's the best time for them to come and to either talk to you or to read the book? Is it as soon as possible, or is it get yourself going?
My mission in life is to just tell as many people as possible, introduce as many people as possible. Now, obviously, I can't say to everyone, I'll go and give you an hour and this, that, and the other, because I go skint. When I get on a plane, I like to turn left, right? And when I go on holiday, I like to spoil myself. So I've got to sort of sort things out. But I will help anybody, and anybody listening to this, my email is worryfreeuk@gmail.com, and all the purists are going, oh, I couldn't deal with him, he's got a Gmail account. But that's it, worryfreeuk@gmail.com. Email me there and just we'll organise something, and I'll have a chat with you, quick chat, and I will be able to advise you. And I can been very lucky, because I say I've been doing this for 25 years. I can look at a business or a situation and very, very quickly decide what's a good move, right?
Sure.
The best investment, and I say this with my hand on my heart, and if anyone ever came to one of my workshops and they didn't think they'd got value, they can have their money back, and I'll write that anywhere, because I am so convinced in this information. But I've got the Science of Getting Rich in Plain English tour starting in Swindon on the 12th. If you have a look on my timeline on Facebook, you'll see information on that. That's going to be a real biggie, because I've actually gone through, because I used to have a big website. I had 170,000 followers in them days, and when I came to England after living in Australia, I sort of I thought I'd just retire a little bit and let the list go, which wasn't a very clever thing to do. But it was hard work. I didn't realise how much hard work it was holding a big list of people together online. But when I came to the UK, I let all that go, and then I got taken out the box by Brad. You know Brad, didn't you?
Brad Burton,
yeah. Yeah. Well, he got me out of the box, and I'd started working with Brad, and he's had a bit of an epiphany over, you know, hanging around with Croz for a bit. He's sort of a few little things he's took on. He's slowed down a little bit and enjoying his life a lot more. But, you know, I will help anybody, and anybody who's watching this who wants to just, you know, have a chat. If I can help you, I will, because that's my mission. And you just, you know, you can have a free copy of the book. I've got no thing. I don't even want your name on a list or anything, because I wouldn't know what to do with it now. I'm getting too old. So you can have the book with my blessing, but don't just look at the pictures in it. Read it, do something with it. And I guarantee that if you follow the instructions in that book to the exclusion of everything else, you will have a result. And forget everything that you know to date, because that will just confuse you. You'll go again, Dan.
Yeah. So keep reminding us of your email address. What was your Gmail address again?
Yeah, it's worryfreeuk@gmail.com. And you can
worryfreeuk@gmail.com.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if you want to friend me up, just always send a little message saying that we met through this video or whatever, because I don't just sort of press like friendship things. But if you say that you've come from as a result of this video, I'll click you on, and then you can see all the behind the scenes stuff that we do. Good thing to do.
And
join the Science of Getting Rich in Plain English on Facebook. That's just one where you put it on, and then we approve it. You become a member of the gang, and we have loads of good stuff. There's a good little inspirational quote every day that I write every day. They're all originals, and there's always an activity, something to get your brain working. So that's a good thing. All free, all for nothing. All I want to do is just help people start. And then if you get to the point where you really want to make something happen, then we can talk about doing a bit of coaching or a bit of mentoring or whatever you want to do. But the first place to start is the book. The second visit you've got to have is go to one of the workshops, because they will blow you away. Honestly, I even get excited about doing them, and I know what's going to happen. So yeah.
How many people are in the workshops?
Well, it all depends. I think this new one, I think I might increase it a little bit, because there's a bit of writing and that. Normally, it's a bit more interactive, and if there's too many people, you can't have everyone don't get a chance. Does that make sense? And it's, you know, and everyone's got to have the chance to ask the questions and do the bits. But this Science of Getting Rich in Plain English one, there's a few little bits and pieces, so you know we might up the numbers. But if you go on to Eventbrite or onto the timeline, you can see it. But that, honestly, I've got no axe to grind. And if you go and at the end of the day you say it's a load of old rubbish, you don't have to give me any explanation. You just come up to me and say, I don't think I've got good value out of today, and you can have your money back. No questions asked. You ain't even got to explain why. And if you're the sort of person that just wants to do it for the sake of getting it for nothing, I can't help you anyway. You got to live with that. I ain't.
I know obviously prices can change going forward, but how much does it cost? Is it super expensive out of people's budget?
No. It got no expense. I only want to turn left to the first bit, not the front, right up the front. So it ain't that dear. No, listen, this new one I've made, the early bird price at the moment's £99, but Eventbrite put their little bit on, so I think it's about £107. That's for a full day, all your refreshments with your morning tea and biscuits and what have you, a nice hot lunch, then afternoon things, free refreshments all day long, right? The course, the whole bit, looked after, everything done for £100, early bird at the moment.
And that's for the one in Swindon on the 12th, is it?
Swindon on the 12th at the Village Hotel. But check all the details out. I'd like to see you there, Dan. We could have a laugh, mate.
Yeah, sounds good.
I'd like to see you there, and all your mates. Because listen, this is really, really powerful stuff, honestly. And I don't think you'll go anywhere and find anyone who could explain it more simple than I do, because that's been my mission all the time, to denude it all with all the bloody. See, do you know what the funny thing is? When I started, right? Do you know what a paradigm is?
Remind me.
Right. Okay. See, that's what happens. See, you've read that word loads of times, haven't you?
Yes, yeah.
All the self-development books. Oh, we're going to change our paradigm. We're going to this paradigm and that paradigm and da da da. And everyone reads it and they don't bother to look up what it means. So they ain't getting the information anyway, because these people use all these stupid words. Paradigm comes from psychology, and psychologists are trained to fuck with your head, right? They make out they're cleverer than what you are, so they invent all these bloody
Yeah.
words. And even if you look the word up, it won't tell you what it is. Do you know what a paradigm is? A habit.
All right.
A habit. So why the hell
That would be a
don't they
lot
put,
simpler.
let's change your habits? Paradigm. Oh, God, this must, oh, God, we'll be able to charge an extra few quid for that because we've got the word paradigm in it. We might have a workshop, put it up to 500 quid, say, work on your
Yeah.
paradigms.
Sounds very fancy.
But you see how daft it is? And all these
Yeah.
things, and we read things as well, and 90% or 99% of the people watching this wouldn't have had a bloody clue what paradigm meant, but they'd have read it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Don't make any sense, does it? So I say if it's an habit, it's a habit. If it's a duck, I say duck, right? I don't say a small goose with its little yellow leg, right? It's a duck, right? You'll
Yeah,
go,
no,
Dan.
absolutely. And yeah, and I think the business world and the business literature world is just full of, exactly as you say, more confusion, more, the longer the book and the more volumes they can sell and the follow-ups they can sell, and on and on and on and on, and it is there to sell more product.
But and that's, look, at the end of the day, all we're looking for in life, okay, all we are looking for in life is to be happy. That's it. That's
Yeah,
what we were put here to do. But somehow along the way, we've all lost our way, and we've forgotten how to be happy, because what we're doing is we're actually chasing after something in the future, right? That we don't know how to get, but we know that if we do get it, we'll be all right and we'll be happy. So we're not happy where we are. We're not sure what we want in the future. So we're in limbo, right?
yeah,
So you've got to ground yourself. Make where you are where you want to be, right? That is the
yeah,
secret to it all. Where you are, where you want to be. And make sure that what you see in the future is what you want. Because most people create an image of what they think they can get, right?
sure.
If you go back 10 years, Dan, and you, in your mind, you think of you 10 years ago saying that you'd be where you are now, would have been a bit of a stretch, wouldn't it?
A little bit different, yeah. Definitely not
Would have
where I
been
thought
hard
I'd be
to
at
imagine.
24.
It would have been hard for you to imagine you being where you are, right or wrong.
Absolutely.
It wouldn't,
Right.
you, because you'd have worked out, how can I do it? How can I do it? But now you know that you've got to where you are, and you've done it by default, because you've done these teachings in part without knowing what you've been doing. Because there's only two ways, right, to get hold of money. That's to use these teachings, or to do what these teachings say and not know you're doing it, right? There's the only two ways. Or the third way, what we call the Phil Green way, which is where you just put you go into everyone and you nick their money, and you do everything wrong. But that ain't the answer, because old Phil Green must be the loneliest bloke on the planet at the moment. No one to go near him,
Yeah.
right? So he was clever, wasn't he? He's sitting there now going, well, hang on a minute, I thought when I had this big boat and all this money, everything would be all right. And it ain't. I ain't got no one to talk to. No one wants to be with me. So he got it wrong. And he's foregone all them years thinking that when he's got there, he's going to be all right.
Mm.
And he ain't. So
Yeah.
So you've actually got to make yourself happy now, right? That's it. Them's the rules, mate. And if you think you're going to do it in the future, no good. If you didn't do it in the past, no good. All you've got control over is now, this minute now. And when you think things are going wrong, because most of the things we try and solve are in our head, they don't exist, right? And we're sitting there and we're working out how we're going to solve this thing that don't exist, right? So what we do is we then go into the state of like a red setter when it's hunting. We go in this state of panic and all that, right? And then when we get to this thing that existed in our head, it don't exist. And we've spent all that time worrying about it. Whereas these teachings say, if there's nothing you can do about it, forget it. Which don't make it irresponsible. It just means there's nothing you can do about it. And nine times out of 10, by the time you get to where you thought it was going to be a problem, it don't even, you're looking around, so where's it gone? They don't exist anymore. So there's loads of powerful stuff of how to just make your life so easy. I annoy the crap out of people, Dan, because I'm always right. They don't like it, right? I'll go and play golf 3 or 4 times a week, driving around in my little car, having a little knockabout on the golf course, right? Have a nice bit of grub to eat, go around, talk to lovely people like yourself, and spreading the word. It upsets a few people, of course it does. But the only thing is, you look around. Do you want to be Phil Green or do you want to be Crossley? Forget the money. I tell you, I know who I'd rather be. I don't know about you, Dan. You might want to be Phil Green.
No. Certainly not. You're never going to be happy by scamming other people and by no, it's not the answer.
Any money you get in that way is only temporarily yours. Trust me. If you don't play the game, you'll lose it. Right? If you do play the game and you do things right, don't rush, just get things unfold in life, get hold of a few quid. The most important thing to do is when you've got a business is make sure you look after yourself and have plenty of time off, right? Structure it so that you're not running around like a blue ass fly, because most people are running like the wheel spin kid, what I explained to you earlier, right? And I hang on, turn the engine off a minute. All the smoke settles, all the rubber on the smell of the rubber on the road and everything, and they're sitting in the car. They go, right, now have a little look. What can we do to change things? And they go, oh, that's it. And they get out and they walk, and they're going faster than this high-powered car that was making all the noise that was just standing still. By just looking and saying, oh, we can do that. And they're walking gently along and things start changing.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. That seems to make a lot of sense. And certainly, I remember that when I was starting out in business, just trying to do so many things at the same time and not really getting anywhere with any of them. So, just slowing down and taking a different view on it absolutely makes sense.
And that's the thing. See, when people say to me, I really could do with someone, but I can't afford them. So, well, you can't afford not to have them. You know, this is a mentality that we've been. Where will I get their wages from? Well, if you choose the right person, they bring their wages with them, right?
Yeah.
Now you're paying them, say 8 hours a day, and if that releases you for 8 hours, or even if it releases you for 4 hours, what's the value? You're paying them like 15, 20 quid an hour, right? What are you worth? Right? So straight away you've got a bonus, because if you don't take it monetarily, you've got time. And that's the most valuable commodity we've got. But we keep giving it away and using it all wrong.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with everything you said there. Croz, let's wrap that up. One final tip from yourself?
I'll tell you what, the tip I'd give anybody is when things look absolutely that you can't make any sense of them, I've got 3 tips. Relax. And the third one, what do you think that is, Dan?
Oh, I think it might be relax.
Right, that's it. That's the best bit of advice you'll ever get, mate, because then you start looking at it properly, looking at it in a calm state, and you'll find that from then you'll move forward. Remember the car with all the power going nowhere. Stop it, have a think, get out, and you walk and you overtake the big powerful car. That's life, mate.
Love it. Thanks, Croz. If you can get those links to your Facebook group, a link to your meetup event, and your email address, either put it in the description or put it underneath or wherever you can, because you've posted this, so I think you need to put that on so people can get to it. And I'll make sure I search the rest of the groups. But it's been really nice to speak to you. So yeah, cheers for your time, and
Thanks a lot.
Have a nice weekend.
Hope I ain't gone on too long.
Not at all. Thanks, Croz. I'll take care.
Cheers, mate. See ya.